Hey NAI football fans, Corey Thorpe here with another edition of the NAIFBall Podcast, powered by AdCraft USA, your custom apparel, merch, and uniform experts. Our friends at AdCraft have been with us for many years now. They've run web stores for us multiple times. These guys are NAI fans and family who are experts in the apparel and merchandise world. AdCraft allows you to take the hassle out of ordering. Let their knowledgeable design and customer service staff handle everything from hosting the store online, shipping the product, and helping your customers so you can get back to the game. Find them online at adcraftusa.com. All right, NAI football fans, this is Corey Thorpe back with a championship edition of the NAIF Ball Podcast, powered by AdCraft, custom apparel and merch. You heard him in the ad read. I don't need to repeat myself, but for the I don't know, fourth, fifth. How many years have we been doing this, Liz? Whatever, consecutive
Fifth.
year. Ottawa brings home the back to back. You win one for the thumb.
Yep, we did it for the thumb.
Oh my gosh. Absolutely incredible. Shame on me for not doing research, but this has got to be one of the most unrivaled dynasties in collegiate athletics at any point in time, honestly.
Yeah, I mean, I think the next closest is maybe OU softball. They've won 4 in a row, and now they're going to be competing for 5 in a row. So they've done it after we've done it. So they're kind of up next. But
fair enough. I mean, it's a fantastic year for Ottawa. It's an undefeated season, wire to wire. I think in terms of ranking, wire to wire national champions. Of course, it's probably the first time that's happened because of the fact that there haven't been a whole lot of polls out there. So it's probably the first time that's occurred. But looking over your schedule, a couple of things jump out to me. One is just the step up and the emergence of Baker over this last year. I mean, yes, you played them 4 times, but over those 4 times, they kept it as close as anybody. Talk about the emergence of the Wildcats this year.
yeah, I think Baker has been a great example of the growth of the game in general. And to have a team of that caliber 20 minutes down the road is something that we have not experienced in so long, and it's exciting not only for the game but just for the growth in this area in Kansas City and the high schools that they're continuing to add on pilot programs. I think it does tremendous things just for the area to see 2 high level organizations right in their backyard.
And then the other big one is obviously Kansas Wesleyan. Are there any secrets after playing a team 4 times in one season and then facing them in the playoffs? I mean, it seems like after 4 matchups, you're running out of fresh ideas, probably.
Oh yeah, I mean, I think that Kansas Wesleyan was the one team that we did not want to see first round, and I think Katie and I both knew as soon as we saw what the lineup was going to be that we were in for a really big slugfest, and that's exactly what we got. You know, you don't want to see a team that you've played and knows you, and you know them, and it was a battle, double overtime. I was not expecting, but I wouldn't have it any other way, and I think it says a lot about that competition level and the growth of the game.
And then you pointed out that was a double overtime game. You have 2 double overtime games in consecutive days, or in at least consecutive games. Talk to me about having to. I mean, that Thomas game is super tight all throughout. You've got to be thinking, okay, I've got to keep my team fresh. We just got off a double overtime game. What is that like trying to play with your uh, players on the field to make sure that if this goes to at least overtime, we need to be fresh?
Yeah, I mean, I think that overtime is something that we had just worked on in practice. So we had gone through that entire series. And, in that first double overtime with Kansas Wesleyan, I think there was 46 seconds left when we got the ball. And I had a conversation with my quarterback, and she said, "Is there overtime?" And I said, "Yes." And she goes, "I want to take it to overtime." And so we had just kind of let the clock run out. And I know my sister was yelling at me, like, "What are you doing?" And I was like, my quarterback wants to take it to overtime. I feel comfortable there too. We're a team that plays one team, one set of players for offense, one set of players for defense. We're built for overtime. And so we're willing to go there. And so I think I felt extremely comfortable, as did my team. But when I got them together, I told them to take a deep breath, because the pressure of winning back to back to back to back, I could tell was starting to wear on the team. And I said, if we lose today, tomorrow the sun still rises. So take the pressure off and remember why you're here. Remember why you love this. And let's just go out and have fun.
Yeah, look, I mean, if that is a quarterback that you've played with for one season, maybe you balk at it, maybe you don't. You've staked all your championships on Madison Carrera, and
Oh, yeah.
she's been around the block a time or five. You trust your field general by this point, I'd imagine.
Oh, yeah. And I've played, and I understand, there are things that you trust when you're a player on the field. There are things that you see that coaches maybe don't see. And it doesn't matter how great of a game plan I might have for 46 seconds. If she doesn't feel comfortable executing it in that moment, then it's not a great decision.
So let's take a look at your team. I know it's early. Yeah, let's turn the page real quick. I want to go back to Madison Carrera because these numbers are, I mean, they've been eye popping every year, but when you look at them in total, holy freaking crap. Um, we're talking about 412 total touchdowns. That is, I don't think absurd even starts to handle that number. Um, 48 interceptions. So you're talking about a 10-to-1 total touchdown to interception ratio. Her completion percentage got better every single year, capping out at like 77. What is it? 77.7% this year. Um, Almost 22,000 yards. That's like a good
That's
NFL
crazy.
quarterback's career here.
Hmm.
Um, Talk to me about how the crap you replace that.
Yeah, Madison Carrera is a rare breed. I think that when she first got to Ottawa, it took a lot of convincing to convince her to be quarterback. She did not want to be quarterback. She wanted to be receiver. She wanted to be safety. And then she is just a gamer. She wins at everything, whether it's ping pong or cornhole or whatever it is she's playing, she somehow wins. And I think that replacing her, you don't replace Madison Carrera. I think it's finding the next quarterback in whoever that is. And I like to, say that I like to change my game plan according to the talent, and that will not change. I'd love to find another Madison Carrera. I think, Olivia had a great year, reading and watching what Madison does. They're two completely opposite players. But what I told Olivia also is that spot is not necessarily hers. My team is full of quarterbacks. My incoming recruits are quarterback, or receivers that are also quarterbacks, and that's what Madison was. But I also want that position to be something that is fought for at a high level. And I expect, regardless of who we go in with next, that nothing will change, and we're going for 6.
It does seem, as I look at the roster, the defense seems to kind of be more of a mixture of your different years, how it's been built out over the years. You do have some folks that, you know, uh, it's a week since the tournament. We don't know if all of these players are leaving or not, but at this point, it's our best guess. So, at worst, you're talking about losing Kaufman, Homs, and Paris, which, yeah, you're talking 250 pulls and about 35 billion pass breakups between the three of them. You do bring back Talia McInnes and Jacani Washington, which also have about 3 billion pass breakups between them. But your defense is a little more varied in terms of years. Offensively, it's got to feel like you're kind of turning the page to a fresh chapter.
Yeah, offensively, I think it'll be a lot different than previous years, but at the same time, you know, Olga from Spain, one of the best players in the world, in my opinion, is going to be coming in and joining the team and just kind of stepping in without losing stride. But it'll be interesting. I think Madison might be my quarterback's coach, so
Why
it'll
the heck
help to
not?
have her on the team regardless, and kind of starting her career as an adult and growing the game in that way. But it'll be fun to kind of figure things out again.
So let's take a look at it, kind of a 30,000-foot view here. We've been through a full 5 years of flags. So because we started in this sort of semi-COVID year, this is kind of for everyone really your first turn the page off season. Um, so looking back at this, there's been a lot of growth in flag. It is completely obvious. When we started this, it was just a few states that had it as a sanctioned sport, and a few that were piloting. Eh, you know. Now we're at 15 states have this as a sanctioned sport. 17 more are piloting, which leaves 18 that have not. Now, the interesting thing to me, at least, is looking at the map. Two of the pilots are Kansas and Missouri, um, right around um, right around that KCAC territory. The only one in the southeast around Sun territory that hasn't done anything. There are no pilots in the southeast right now. The only one who hasn't made any moves is South Carolina. Um, Talk to me about how y'all and at a larger level the KCAC are trying to leverage your collegiate game to create these high school pipelines, especially in kind of your home turf of Kansas and Missouri.
Yeah, I think, well, first of all, the growth of high school is crucial in just getting young players playing the game. You have more high schools that are playing more skill, and the younger that these athletes are that are entering the game. But I think, Abby Brown is a former Ottawa Brave that is now working with the Chiefs and their flag program. And we were just at a huge tournament just in Kansas City with 30 plus high school teams. And I think them seeing these KCAC schools and having coaches at these tournaments just reinforces, what the drive, I guess, to be there and continue to work on something that they love, because now they see a future in it. And I think it'll only do positive things for those schools that are wanting or considering adding.
And then the 18 that haven't, there's a couple border states with y'all, Nebraska, Oklahoma. Is there any advocation there to those states kind of just outside of that KCAC territory to at least consider a pilot from the home office there?
Yeah, I think the biggest thing, you had Midland that just went to Nebraska and played at that huge, in their stadium for supporting women's sports. And that's just one step, because you're now getting the state of Nebraska to see it. And it really starts there, because I think a lot of people in the Midwest, they love sports. There's nothing else to do, literally. And so it just, you just have to make it relevant and be seen. And that's the starting point. And I think it grows from there.
And then obviously, we've seen the growth from the beginning in the NAIA. In my mind, we really need to, it is almost crucial from a home office perspective that we take that invitational step. I think that number's 30 schools that we have to get to move to that invitational status. How do we grow the game, especially bringing other conferences on board? Because obviously, we can't just have two conferences long term. I mean, it's got to be bigger than the Sun and the KCAC. How do we grow the game on the NAIA level into that invitational sport and then into that full championship sport?
I think again, it just takes people seeing it. It takes athletic directors that are willing to take a chance, people going out and speaking. I've had numerous athletic directors that set up calls with me to talk about things, and they're just kind of worried about where the high school recruits will come from and things like that. And so as the high school game grows, as will the college game, and I think they go hand in hand. But I think it will be a domino effect, and they'll all eventually fall here pretty soon.
So I'm going to let you get out your crystal ball for a moment because obviously we saw this season some of the NCAA schools kind of dabbling in it. We get some D3
Hmm.
schools, we got some D2 schools. We're stepping our toes in the water here. We're not jumping in, but we're dabbling. How how will the emergence of the NCAA adopting flag as a varsity sport, how is that going to impact the landscape? Because honestly, the NAIA has this incredible head start, but also a lot of these schools have more money than God, and that's a that's a really interesting question that I think we've got to figure out how we're going to deal with that.
I think the biggest thing with NCAA Division One schools is the opportunity to provide full scholarships. You know, at the NAIA level, with this being the highest level, it still costs so much money for these players to play. And that is my biggest pet peeve of everything, is just watching them, have to pay when their male counterparts maybe in the tackle football scene are, just living the high life and getting paid tons of money. The NCAA Division One allows that opportunity to give full ride scholarships, and that'll be everything because it'll then allow everyone to actually play.
And then I saw today, yesterday, day before, time is a construct. Where the NFL is going to allow up to one player per team to go, and we're going to do this whole Olympic thing with the NFL. And I feel for the guys that are going out there, especially on the men's side. Women's side going to be fine. There's no NFL women structure to draw from. But on the men's side, man, you've scratched and clawed your way in flag football. Now, granted, Tyreek Hill might make a great wide receiver, and I don't know that there's a whole lot of difference between a flag wide receiver and a um, NFL wide receiver, aside from there's less blocking. But I also think, and we talked about this before we came on, might Patrick Mahomes make a phenomenal flag quarterback? Absolutely. Does Patrick Mahomes want to chance getting injured? I kind of doubt it. Um, should USA Football, when it is constructing its flag team for 2028 in Los Angeles, would it be wise for them to construct a flag roster out of all NFL players?
I think that the biggest thing that USA Football probably wants to do is making sure that everyone is kind of going through that same process. You're not going to give NFL players just because they're NFL players a spot on the team. At the same time, that's going to be extremely hard for those players that have, spent their entire life fighting for this flag football thing. But at the end of the day, the Olympics are made for the top athletes in the entire country. And you don't want to be a flag athlete that's only there because some people were not able to be there. Like, you want to be the best in the country. If an NFL player happens to just do really well at flag and goes through that process, then that's going to be tough luck for those flag players that have been there for the entire time. But that's what the Olympics is. It's the best of the best, and that's why it's extremely rare to be an Olympian, and just kind of, holds more power to that name Olympian. But the best deserve to be there. The best flag players, not the best football players.
Just thinking about it though, I'm just letting my imagination go. I still think that Brian Urlacher would make a pretty darn good flag linebacker,
Oh, for sure.
and
Oh, for
I
sure.
think John Lynch would still do pretty good at
Yeah,
safety playing
even though
flag.
he's a little, yeah, age might be creeping in there, but they'd still know exactly what they're doing.
Yeah, I mean defense is defense is defense. I feel like
Yep.
offense is a little. I don't know. You got to have you. I feel like those they'd have a lot of holding calls. That is a super hard
Yeah. I
habit to
think a lot
break.
of penalties for sure.
And also, you'd really want to lay someone the crap out.
Yeah, I can see that going not so well in their favor in those times.
Yeah. So we'll see. I personally do think that they need to make sure that they've got flag players there. If not flag players, you better have flag coaches
Mhm.
that are going to be able to kind of retrain their brain a little bit. It'll be interesting to see who they set out because, again, let's say I'm Andy Reid. Ain't no way on God's green earth I'm letting Jalen Hurts go out there and do that. No way.
You know, I think that it is a dream maybe for some of those players to be in the Olympics, so I can understand that. And they see it as a non-contact and this and that. But um, yeah, I think there's going to be a whole lot of controversy and issues that go into it, maybe more than we think.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting. I'm looking forward to it. Heck, I'm hoping at some point that someone gives my number to NBC and says, "Hey, there's a guy that calls flag and he's pretty good at it."
Hey, for real.
I would be it would be country come to town, but that would be wild. Call me NBC. I am completely open for 2028. There's nothing on my schedule yet. Um, it's going to be interesting though in the next 3-ish years. Also, that's a Summer Olympics. We're going to have to figure out, at least on the collegiate scene, it is a spring sport. It's
Yep.
the same idea as basketball, where you're coming off of this playoff run and then going into the Olympics. You might see some tired legs.
Yep. It'll change, I think, a lot of maybe time frames, hopefully, but it'll also put things in perspective of, not wanting to possibly get injured going into the Olympics. It's something that comes around once every 4 years, and those are things that are extremely important and something that colleges will have to consider ahead of time.
Yeah, and look, the Sun might be able to get away with moving the season back, but there is no way on God's green earth that y'all are going to be able to play a game in darn January.
Nope. I mean, we would be able to play probably, but I know no one would come play us. So
It's a
as
little.
long as it feels like 15 or above, we're good.
That's darn chilly. This Florida boy does not like it. Well, Coach,
Oh,
congratulations again. Winning 5 times in 5 years is an incredible accomplishment. Um, and you've won it every which way. Um, we've done the tournament at least 2 different ways. up to this point, and in two different locations up to this point. And the constant has been an Ottawa championship. So congratulations. I
Thank
hope
you.
you get to sit back and kind of bask in it a minute before you get back to recruiting, because that's one of those things when you're 80 years old and you look at your grandkids and you go, I did that. That's pretty
Yeah,
cool.
I would love to relax, but I mean, you listed my seniors, so you know.
Yeah, no, absolutely. So thanks for coming on tonight. Appreciate you and what you're
Thank
doing
you for
for
having me.
Flag. It's going to be fun for these next few years. Just watching this game explode has been an absolute delight.
I'm looking forward to it, and thanks for having me. And I'll give your name to CBS if I can. So.
Aha, thank you.